Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Caregiver's World podcast. Today, I want to discuss a very complex subject. While I may not have extensive knowledge, I do have some insight from the perspective of a consumer and as a relative of an elderly person. Regardless of health status, I believe it's important to discuss cybersecurity, particularly the importance of anonymity and protection. In a world filled with technology, accessibility, and quick shortcuts, from web access to phones and cameras, we're also opening doors for perpetrators looking to exploit these conveniences to deceive others. The exploitation can lead to harmful and sometimes illegal actions. I have seen good hearted, well intended, and sometimes naive people fall victim to such situations. Without giving away any specific details, I want to discuss how we can avoid these situations. I'll illustrate how things can go wrong if we don't stay vigilant and take steps to protect ourselves and our loved ones. This can be a very complex and convoluted subject, so I will go into detail with some aspects of it, but I will try to give a more general overview and provide some resources and links to information that I have found for you. Let's start with phone safety. Whether you own an old cell phone or the latest smartphone, it's essential to be mindful of who is calling. Most phones today display the caller's number at a minimum. If you don't recognize the number, should you really rush to answer? My answer is a simple no. If the call is legitimate and important, the caller will likely leave a voicemail or send an email. What could happen if you do answer, though? Sometimes nothing at all. The caller may hang up, or it could be a robocall. But there's always a risk of a phishing attempt. So let's go with an example of phishing, voice phishing. For your knowledge, it involves fraudulent phone calls aimed at tricking victims into revealing sensitive information like login credentials, credit card numbers, or bank details. You may think you'd never fall for this, but with today's technology, it's easier than you would imagine. Consider this scenario. You get a phone call from an unknown number. You've had a tough day, or you've been expecting anxiously for a phone call. You pick up the phone and say, "Hello? Hello?" There's a faint noise on the end, but nothing else comes out. So you repeat again, "Hello? Anyone there? I can't hear you." And the call drops. That brief interaction could be enough for a machine to record your voice. With the advancements in AI, someone could manipulate this recording to create a message like this. "Hello, Mom. Mom, are you there? I'm in trouble. I was out with a friend. She left. I forgot my wallet. Could you send me 200 through Zelle?" A concerned parent may fall for this and end up losing money. My goal is not to scare you here, but to encourage you to be proactive or to have a proactive mindset. By understanding potential risks, we can better protect ourselves and our loved ones. So let's first explore some key terms and tactics that could be used against us. First, let's understand phishing and spoofing. Phishing, according to Cisco.com, is the practice of sending fraudulent messages that seem to come from reputable sources, often via email or text. The goal is typically to steal money, access sensitive data, or install malware on your device. Some types of phishing include email phishing, smishing, which is text phishing, vishing, which is phone phishing, spear phishing, HTTPS phishing, farming, pop-up phishing, and account takeover, known as ATO. Spoofing is a tactic where someone pretends to be a trusted source to gain access to your systems or data. Forms of spoofing include email spoofing, caller ID spoofing, website or URL spoofing, GPS spoofing, man in the middle attacks, extension spoofing, IP spoofing, and facial spoofing. I am including two different sources here on the podcast to give you access to even more in case you are curious to learn further detail. But it can be an overwhelming amount. I believe there's over 20 plus. A good example of spoofing that I want to bring to your attention, and you might have seen this for yourself, is the caller ID spoofing. I'll give you an example. You get a phone call of a number that you think you recognize, but that number is not really who they say they are. This happened to me several years ago. I got a call, and unfortunately for whoever was trying to spoof me, I was able to catch the number right away. Turns out it was me. I was calling me. And then it turned out to be my own voicemail calling me. That's how I know it was a spoofing. But not everything is as obvious as that very lame attempt years ago. Okay, so let's go on. So, how can we protect our loved ones? For cell phones and tablets, you can make adjustments in the device settings to prevent accidental app installations. This step can help avoid malware that could come from ads on platforms like YouTube. If you can't see how this could happen, I'll give you an example. Your loved one, even yourself, could be watching a video clip on YouTube and an ad pops up in the middle of it and you're trying to skip it and accidentally you clicked on the ad. That ad may be for an installation of an application that could have malware. Okay, let's talk about phone calls and text messages. Help your loved ones monitor their calls. If they look at their phone when it's ringing and the first thing they say is, I don't know this number, that's your red flag. That helps you immediately decide whether or not to take action. You should encourage them to let it go to voicemail if the number that is coming through is not recognized by them or you if you are the full-time caregiver and you know who's usually calling them. When it comes to text, do not respond to unknown senders. Do not click on links or download attachments. Always check the sender's information and watch for subtle misspellings in domain names that could indicate a scam. This is also very, very valid for emails. When it comes to email addresses, you can just look up the email address information, then you can look at the domain name, and that's usually a dead giveaway of a source of scam. When it comes to web browsing and passwords, when you are researching, please consider the incognito mode or in private mode in certain browsers, which can help prevent tracking cookies from storing your browsing's data and minimizes targeting. If you are doing research on things to buy, if you are researching something to do, a dance, a food, whatever it is you can think of that you're researching, always try to do your incognito search unless you know exactly where you're going to go and see. For example, if you have a vendor that you know their website and you know you're not going to make a typo when you're typing this, then go for that. Passwords are very, very important, you guys. You need to get into the habit of creating unique and very strong passwords and different passwords for each site. I understand that it can be confusing and sometimes very complicated to remember passwords, but there's applications that can help you store this data in a secure way. There are password managers, and some of these password managers are also very good at suggesting really strong password combinations that can prevent from anyone being able to guess in them. My way of thinking is if you are able to remember your password easily, it is not a secure password. If you're using that password in multiple places, that is truly not a secure password. Additional steps that you can take is to enable the two-factor authentication and use a VPN if you're accessing the web on an unsecured network. I know that there's a lot more comments and questions that may come up of this. I'm sure I'll come up with more ideas on this topic. If you have any additional safety measures that you want to share, please feel free to do so. I'm happy to share the information and happy to learn more from you. Hope you have a very nice week ahead. Stay alert, be a little bit more suspicious and a little less trusting, if not for yourselves, because you're caring for your loved one. Thank you so very much for joining us. Have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. Take care.